Welcome back to Game Night OT. A few minutes away from game points with my show. On the other side of the break, we'll have Gabriel Morency, among others, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to talk some hockey with one of our buddies. We haven't spoken to him in, I don't know, like a month? I don't know what the story is, whether it's me, it's him. Not sure what happened, but we're back together right now for the moment. The Fourth Period on Twitter.com. TheFourthPeriod.com is the website as well. Or check out the magazine on newsstands. It is Dave Pagnotta. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, a lot better than the Leafs.
Yeah, baby. Oh, that's good stuff. But, I mean, obviously, you're covering hockey. You're based in Toronto. It's never good news, I guess, right?
Not lately. No, I think the last time I was on the show, they were doing pretty well. And maybe they're going to blame you for not having me on more. I don't know, but it's not pretty here in Toronto, and ugly last few weeks for the Leafs, and obviously being now on the road. Probably better this way. I mean, maybe the schedule makers knew that this was going to happen so that they wouldn't have to end their last 3 games at home and face a very disappointed and ticked off home team crowd.
Wow. Well, it's true because you saw what happened, right, in Vancouver. They yell, fire Gillis, and then they fire him. So maybe the last couple home games they could have yelled something, and it would have helped the changing of the guard again. But in any event, it's a real debacle after last year's excitement, and unfortunate, obviously, for Leafs fans. But the spotlight now clearly on Montreal as the only Canadian team left, and we'll see what they do with it. But before we get to the Habs and some other items, your thoughts on the Vancouver firing of Gillis today?
I think the writing was on the wall around the time that the Luongo situation popped back up before the trade deadline. Quite frankly, between that, the whole Ryan Kessler situation that kind of transpired, the situation involving Alex Edler that really didn't get enough publicity. It was just another roster decision that didn't end up happening. That kind of plagued and hung over the rest of the guys in the room and the rest of the guys in the organization. And there's a significant lack of trust between the players and management. They just, after, telling Roberto Luongo, we're going to trade you, and then all of a sudden trading Corey Schneider, and then trading Roberto Luongo later on after, deciding that, he's not going to play in the outdoor game, telling Ryan Kessler, we'll meet your demands and trade you, and then that doesn't happen, and more or less the same thing happening with Alex Edler. It needed to happen. Something needed to change in Vancouver, and you can't get rid of all the guys on the roster, so you get rid of the GM, the guy that kind of pieced this whole mess together. I mean, you can blame the coaching staff all you want. You can blame the guys on the ice for not getting it done. But at the end of the day, if the talent isn't there, if the depth isn't there, there's not much, that Tortorella can do with, and his coaching staff can do with what's put in front of them. The team just isn't good enough. It doesn't have the depth. They've made questionable move after questionable move, and ultimately, they have to make a move and get rid of Mike Gillis. I think it's a good decision. I don't necessarily know what the significance is in terms of making a move now versus 5 days from now when the season ends, unless they're trying to send a direct message to the fan base to say, hey, we're with you on this, we hear you, we'll do it now. I don't really think that makes a difference, at all in terms of reshaping the team. But ultimately, it's a move they needed to make.
Dave, looking at this Canucks situation even more, who is the next GM of this team, and does that GM keep John Tortorella as the head coach next year?
It's tough to say. All signs point to Trevor Linden joining the organization, despite a denial from him early on this morning on a local television broadcast. It's weird because at first we're hearing that Linden's going to be the president of the organization. Then we're hearing that he might be the GM of the organization, and Bob Nicholson will be coming on in the other role with formerly of Team Canada and Hockey Canada. I'm not sure if that ends up happening, but there's going to be a press conference tomorrow afternoon, and presumably the Canucks are going to announce who Gillis' successor is at both the president and GM positions. Whether it ends up being Linden, all signs to him being brought in some capacity. I think they're going to wait till the end of the season to make any decisions on the coaching staff to see what they really want to end up doing behind the bench. Again, I mean, I like John Tortorella for the most part. I know a lot of the guys in the Canucks room are kind of fed up with him. I know Ryan Kessler can't stand him, and that's one of the reasons why he wants out. But I just, with the limited resources that Tortorella has in front of him, I really, you can't put too much blame on him. There's only so much the man and his staff can do.
Chatting with Dave Pagnotta from the fourthperiod.com here as we talk some hockey and elsewhere, Winnipeg situation. Mo, I know you wanted to touch on that.
Yes, our good buddy here, Matthew Ross, brought up the point of Evander Kane. Will he be a Jet or not? Do you think that he'll be a part of the Winnipeg Jets come October?
No, not at all. I think he's definitely going to get traded this offseason.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Dave. I ranted about this on Sunday, okay, from a Canadian's point of view, okay? You find a guy he's a little precocious off the ice, right? Under the age of 25, incredible friendly cap situation, signed through 2018, big body. I mean, whatever it takes, first rounders. It makes absolutely no sense to me that Winnipeg wouldn't try and patch this situation up. How hard is it to convince free agents to come to Winnipeg? I would think incredibly hard. You're never going to be able to replace a guy like this, and you're going to be known as the GM and the head coach that let this guy get out of town. If I'm the Canadians, I give up Bollia and a first rounder and whatever it takes. Am I wrong?
It'll take a little more than that, but no, you're not wrong. I mean, the Canadians expressed interest in Evander Kane last summer during the draft and inquired again throughout pieces of this past season. They're going to inquire again. Marc Bergevin and Kevin Cheveldayoff have a bit of a relationship with a brief time. They kind of crossed over a little bit in Chicago, so there's some familiarity there. I expect the talks to continue. They're not going to be the only ones. There are going to be a ton of teams that are going to be going after Evander Kane, this off season when teams can get going. Pittsburgh is going to go after him. Philadelphia, the Los Angeles Kings, are going to be knocking on the door. So the Canadians are going to be in tough if they want to try to get their hands on this kid, but they'll be in the mix. And a lot of what the Canadians do is going to depend
on Vanek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if he stays, then do they utilize resources for other areas on the club? Maybe they go all in if they feel they can make a deal that makes sense, for them, and that brings Evander Kane or somebody like that into the organization. I think Marc Bergevin is going to have a pretty active offseason, and we're obviously seeing that some of the moves he makes pans out pretty well.
Dave Pagnotta, thefourthperiod.com here on the program. Final question for you here, Dave, as we get ready for the postseason. Habs probably playing the Lightning. Do you like the matchup?
I do. I really do, and I'll like it even more if Ben Bishop is done for a while.
Yeah,
he got injured. He got injured tonight. He's not going to be playing the next game, and they're going to evaluate him further to see how long he's going to be out. But if he's out, then great. I mean, Lindback's a solid goaltender, but Ben Bishop has really rode the team on his back throughout the course of the season. But outside of that, I think it's a pretty good matchup for the Canadians, and if they get by that. They'll obviously end up playing the Boston Bruins or whomever they end up, playing against. I presume either them or Columbus at this stage. You got to figure that the Bruins will get past the Blue Jackets, and if that ends up being a round 2 matchup, you like the odds in Montreal's favor a little bit based on how they played them this year.
He is Dave Pagnotta. TheFourthPeriod.com is the website. The Fourth Period on Twitter as well. Dave, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks, boys.
All right, there you go. That's Dave Pagnotta. That concludes Game Night OT here on TSN 690. Other side of the break, Game Points with yours truly, Matthew Ross, on the airwaves. Mo Khan here in studio, Stefano Micella as well, and Jimmy G on the board. Gabriel Morency will join us in about a half hour's time. So much more as well. Stay tuned.